Hi everyone, this is Niki Rowland, and today I have a couple of layouts for Bramble Fox. Happy New Year, by the way. Today for Bramble Fox, I'm using the December Fox box, I'm using the January Fox box, and I'm also using a set called What a Year. So 3 different perspectives from 3 different sets today, and I'm working on layouts from my December daily, or my December album. So basically I've had a bit of a shocker this year when it comes to my December album. Normally I've done all of my foundation pages way back in November, and I spend December just popping my photos in, really relaxed. This year has not worked out like that. I don't really know why I've had such a shocker, but I have. And to date, which is like the 1st of January, the day I'm recording this, I have still not finished my foundation pages, let alone started putting photos and journaling in. So I'm in the unique situation here where for the days that I'm doing today, so I particularly wanted to use some of the Bramble Fox sets for days 30 and 31, being the end of the year, I'm in the unique situation where I have got my photos already, but I haven't done the foundation pages. So that has never happened before. I always do foundation pages and then add photos later. So this was quite strange, spending time doing these pages that I'd already got photos chosen for. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange process for me. So anyway, it is what it is, and I'm just going to get on with it. So day 30 is the day that I watched the Call the Midwife Christmas special. It's my favourite programme. I used to be a huge Downton Abbey fan, and I've always loved period dramas. Call the Midwife is a real guilty pleasure. I absolutely love it. And no one else in my house watches it. The children are too young. My husband's not interested in the slightest. So I had to find a time where I could sit down or go off by myself and watch this all by myself with no interruptions. So that's been quite challenging. It was on Christmas Day, and it's the 30th by the time I managed to sit down and watch it. Basically the photo on the left is a collage print of a few scenes that I grabbed from Google of that Christmas special. So I put them, they weren't big enough to print as a 6x8, so I took a whole bunch and then made them into a collage, and printed it on just regular cardstock on my printer at home. It's a laser printer. I will possibly get this reprinted on proper photo paper by a printer, but for now I have just done it on my regular cardstock, and I have left a blank section in the bottom right corner so I can write my journaling in there. I'm working right now on an insert. So I spent some time writing a summary of 2020. Well, that was quite a job, I tell you. Certainly been an interesting year. So I have just created a text box in, I use Publisher, but you could do the same thing in Word, and I wrote all about 2020. I wanted to use the title What a Year, and I wanted to include some information about the pandemic. So I mean, it's in everything. It's in all of my photos. It's in all of my stories. You know, we're at home this year because of the pandemic. I've scrapbooked a lot about it throughout the year, although more about how it's affected us rather than how it's affected the world. But I thought a brief summary of the last year would be good. In terms of COVID. So not about me and my life, but about what 2020 held for everyone. So it is basic details about what happened. It's very brief compared to some of the other summaries I have seen, but I only had limited space. I could have gone to the other side, but I decided to keep it to this one side. So I just typed it. Now I'm planning to handwrite all of my journaling this year. But this one I wanted to type because I wanted to get it right. I knew I was going to need to edit it as I wrote it, and I wanted to make sure it fitted in as well and looked. So yeah, it is printed, it's typed and printed onto a piece of white cardstock. I literally ran basil cardstock through my printer. I just cut a piece to A4 and then ran it through as normal. And then I cut it down to size. So it is about 3.5 by 8 inches tall. I really wasn't sure how to go about making the holes in it. Obviously, I know how to make holes, but like with the crocodile, but I wasn't sure if I should trim it down and stick it onto a separate piece to make the margin look right, or if I should leave it white. So in the end, I left it white, and I'm pleased I did. I think it looks nice. I was worried that it would look wrong because of the wide border on the left, so I was really worried about that, but it looks fine. I have added some red pom-pom trim down the side, and I have put a piece of cocoa vanilla pattern paper on the back, and I'm leaving the back plain, apart from the pattern paper obviously. I have fussy cut out some flowers, and then I have decorated that insert with those flowers, and I add a few other bits and pieces later on as well. And of course I've headed it up with What a Year perspective. I really like how it looks. It's quite subtle, white on white. I wanted it to feel like a serious page rather than all out Christmassy, my normal cluttered busy style. I wanted it to be about the words. And What a Year obviously is the most perfect touch of that. So I feel that I achieved that with that little insert there. I was going to put it at the beginning of the book, but I decided it would be better at the end as almost like a summary. I mean, the way that it is written, apart from the last sentence where it says about Bring On 2021, if I had left that out, it would have worked at the beginning of the book as well, but I decided that it was better at the end. And the reason for that is a practical reason. So it's because because at the beginning of the book, because my book is too full, the spine, it means that the top pages sometimes get a bit bent, and because it's just a narrow page, I didn't want it to be really bent. So I had a tag at the beginning of my album last year, and it's really bent and looks a bit rubbish now. So that's why I wanted to keep it flat, because it is quite an important part of this year, of course. So just adding a few more stars and things to that now. Obviously, there's not a lot of room on this page, so there wasn't much room to put embellishments, so just tiny things. So a few there from the phrase stickers from Create Paper Hey Santa. Over on the left hand side, I've now just covered it up, but on my collage print I've added a pom-pom frame and a few embellishments, and at the bottom where I've left an area for journaling, I've also added a lovely pink bramble fox star as well. So anyway, moving on to the right hand side, which is going to say Goodbye 2020. So that is my focus perspective for this layout, this side, and I've got a split page protector there. You can see it's 2 6x4 pockets, and I have a top section and a bottom section. So the bottom section is going to hold my photo. Again, really strange having my photos already when I haven't done the foundation page. I literally never do it like this. So I had this idea that I would put the photo at the bottom, and then I would put a piece of pattern paper with houses all over it at the top, because obviously we have spent a lot of time at home this year. And then I would use my Goodbye 2020 perspective title. That's from the December Fox box. I thought that I could put that on top of the page protector. And I like the idea of it fitting, sitting over the top of the photo and the pattern paper as well. But when I put it on, it really didn't look right, and that's because it's a really open perspective, and obviously you can see through all the gaps in the letters. There's also you could really see the top of my photo and the gap between the top of my photo and the piece of pattern paper above it. So I decided to mount it onto some red cardstock and cut it out. And that way it kind of gives you a solid fill in the background, and it means that I can put it on top of anything and I can't see the details underneath it. So that was what I decided to do there. Now, because of the way this page protector is set out, because the opening is on the front, so if I stick the perspective on top of the page protector, that means I will not have any access to the photo and the things in the bottom pocket, because I will be effectively gluing it closed. So I just need to make sure that I finish this front and back before I put the perspective in place, so that I don't inadvertently seal the pocket without finishing off the layout inside. Which is really something that I might do. So I have to think about the back as well. So this is day 31. There's no more days in December. Tomorrow, today is New Year's Day. So there is no more going into this project after day 31. So I need to finish off that back page. Now, sometimes I put something pretty there, sometimes I leave it plain. This year I decided to put some patterned vellum just behind the photos, so that it's finished, but it doesn't have anything on, it doesn't have any embellishments on. So that's what I've decided to do there. Just going to sort that out in a moment. At the bottom of my photo, I've got a little arrow that says 2021. That is from the January Foxbox. Again, I'm going to stick that over the top of the page protector. So the reason I'm doing that is so that the photo remains flat. So if I put in a bulky embellishment inside my page protectors, which the perspectives are quite thick, it means that my page protector won't sit flat. So sticking them on top of the page protector works really quite well in that respect, and you just don't get as much of the glare from the page protectors as when you have something uneven inside them. So that's what I'm going to do there. I've also just added a snowflake to that bottom left corner as well. That is a little wooden snowflake, white wooden snowflake, and the lovely Morag sent me something for Christmas, and that was part of the packaging. So thank you for that, Morag. It absolutely had to go in my December album, so that is there. Okay, so just getting those two items stuck in place. Unfortunately, one of the prongs on my snowflake broke, so I'm just having to glue that back together. It's fine because it's being stuck to something, so it won't come apart again, hopefully. I fussy cut a couple of the houses and added them to the bottom right of the photo. They are inside the page protector, not on the outside. And now I can add to my top pocket and get finished off there. So I want to add some journaling to the top pocket. I love those houses. I was thinking about leaving it completely plain, but I wanted to just write in there what we did on New Year's Eve. We didn't have a great New Year's Eve, to be honest. We stayed in, of course, as did the rest of the world, but we were planning to sit down and watch a family movie, and my two older children just played up, and we ended up not watching the end of the movie because it was just such an unpleasant, not fun experience. So we ended up going and doing different things, which is a bit of a shame, really, because we had high hopes for a fun evening. But there you go, real life. Hey, so that is the story I'm going to write on those strips there, and because it is, things don't always work out as planned, okay? So and that's fine. It's life. It's real life. So I wanted to include that journaling. I didn't need to, because obviously I'd got journaling about what a year on the previous page on the insert. So I could have just not written anything and left the houses on show on the top pocket. But because I generally write about what I do every day in December, I didn't feel that I could not put anything. So I decided that I would include that story, even though it's not a very fun one. Okay, so I've just added some white strips to that piece of pattern paper at the top. and I'm now adding those bits to the outside of the page protector. So I've got the lovely Goodbye 2020, I've got a red clock, a piece of ephemera, I've got my number 31, just adding a flare badge there as well, and at the top I've added a gold open star, also by Bramble Fox, of course. It matches really nicely with the arrow 2021 at the bottom. Yeah, I feel this is a really good final page in the album. There's a nod to 2020 and a nod to 2021, and our New Year picture is there as well. So that is basically me done. So what I'm doing now, just basically because those journaling strips were going to be tricky to get right, especially as the embellishments were on the outside of the page protector, not on the inside. I just had to make sure I got them in the right place. So what I did was I tacked them in place with a bit of tape, made sure they were right so I could move them around, and then when I was happy with the positioning, I distressed the edges and then stuck them in place properly. I also then sewed them on the sewing machine and I sewed around the edge of the card as well. Okay, and that really is me done. I'm just going to pop those pages into my album, so you can see there the 2 page protectors are in and the insert just sits in as well. And that's it done. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed these December album layouts. They're actual layouts, not just foundation pages today. So yeah. Okay. Make sure you check out the amazing goodies in the Bramble Fox store. There are still loads of wonderful winter items there. Okay. Thank you very much for joining me. That was Niki Rowland for Bramble Fox.